Fontaine is changing the Genshin Impact meta, plain and simple. Whenever a new region comes out, Hoyoverse likes to push the game in a different direction, and Fontaine is no different. Now, Inazuma led the energy recharge meta with Raiden Shogun, scaling with ER, and replenishing characters' bursts, along with Emblem of Severed Fate, an artifact set that gave energy recharge and boosted up the power of characters' elemental bursts, and became one of the best artifact sets Genshin has ever seen. And Sumeru released the Dendro element. So of course, with 7 brand new elemental reactions, and the new Dendro characters themselves, that changed Genshin team possibilities forever. And now the Fontaine meta is making big changes in Genshin as well. It's making a big list of characters from the past feel even better than ever, and some artifact sets that might have sounded super whack just a couple months ago, top tier choices. Now, Fontaine is still young, with only a few new characters out, but that is why it is the perfect time to talk about the meta right now. If you understand where the meta is heading, it will help you decide what characters to pull for, what characters to start building up, what artifact sets and weapons you might want to start investing into, and what team comps you might want to start building up to have some fun. Super quick disclaimer, guys, the Inazuma meta teams and the Sumeru meta teams that I just mentioned, they are still extremely good and totally viable. They are not getting replaced. Take National Team that came out in 1.0. That team still slaps to this day. The Fontaine meta is not replacing or making these teams bad. Your favorite teams are still super good. We're just getting more strong and fun options in Genshin. Without further ado, let's get into just what the Fontaine meta really is. So the brand new idea that Hoyoverse had for Fontaine focuses on the raising and lowering of your characters' HP levels. Linny lowers his HP with his prop surplus stack charge attacks and then heals it back with his skill. Nuvolette drains HP while he's holding his sick charge attack and then heals back depending on how many droplets he absorbed. And from what we can gather now, Ridsley hits hard with cryo-infused auto attacks that drain his HP, but he can heal it back with his charge attack. Something to note about these Fontaine HP lowering mechanics is that they will lower your HP through shields. You have to think of it as these abilities cost your HP, so they gotta take it away. It's not doing damage to your character, which a shield would stop. Bond of Life is also a new mechanic found on certain weapons and enemies we have right now. It pretty much puts a lock on your current HP level and healing until you heal an amount equal to the Bond of Life placed on you. The weapons we have that use this mechanic right now give different boosts depending on just how much your Bond of Life was and how much you healed for. These weapons right now aren't great, but I'm sure it is not the last we will see of the Bond of Life mechanics, because Bond of Life makes you want to run healers, and what does healing do? It changes the level of your HP. Finally, Marechausee Hunter is a new artifact set released in Fontaine that wants your HP levels to change to get its effect. It is such a strong artifact set. We're gonna talk about it by itself later in the video. I think this Fontaine meta choice Hoyoverse went with is actually pretty fun. It makes the player need to be a lot more cognizant about their current HP level. We used to just go in, unga bunga, try to kill the enemy before they kill us, or we go in with just a massive shield and forget about all our problems. Anyway, this is the Fontaine meta mechanic that patches 4.x are all going to be built around. We have characters now, old and new, that change their current HP levels, but I'm willing to bet in the future, we are going to get characters that will change their teammates' HP level as well, or receives buffs or effects based on how much HP they lose or gain, stuff like that. But even though this seems like a big change, tons of characters and team comps we already have in Genshin synergize perfectly with these mechanics and seem to have a bright future in Fontaine. Let's start with team comps and elemental reactions. Reactions like Burning, Burgeon, Bloom, and very rarely Hyper Bloom cause your own team to take damage pretty frequently. Now, Burgeon and Bloom have already proven themselves to be extremely strong meta team comps, and of course, they both deal damage to your own characters. They also both need a Hydro teammate to function, and we're in the land of Hydro in Fontaine. So Furina, Siegewin, or any of the other Hydro characters I'm sure will release during Fontaine's patches are probably gonna find themselves comfortably on some good Bloom and Burgeon teams. Now, while Burning isn't the strongest or most reliable reaction, it's worth mentioning. It is very easy to be caught in the crossfire of the enemy's burning aura that you placed on them. So when you play with fire, it'll shred down your HP. So characters commonly used on all these really good Dendro team comps might find an easier time slipping into the Fontaine meta. While we could just chalk this up to all Dendro characters will be good, I think that's not exactly fair, and some characters will do better than others. Now, Nahida is the GOAT of Dendro. I know we've all heard it before, but she's just that good. So I think Nahida is going to become an even more valuable pickup than she already was because she is the best Dendro applicator in the game and she can be used on all those team comps that will lower your team's HP. Yao Yao and Baizu are worth mentioning because they're Dendro, but they also heal the team in small to medium bursts over time, which is perfect for activating an HP raise in multiple increments. But once again, any Dendro character can work for these strategies. Since we're talking about healers, I know it's very obvious, but I don't want to leave anything out. Healers in general are going to have a bit more value here in Fontaine because they change the HP levels of your characters. Kokumi, Barbara, and Bennett all come to mind as healers that tick multiple instances of HP, making them perfect candidates. Now is it time for the return of Chi-Chi? Maybe that's a little too ambitious, but we can dream. Before we get off the topic of all Dendro reactions, we need to highlight Burgeon. Toma right now is the king of Burgeon, okay? He's the best off-field pyro applicator for Burgeon teams, and now he provides shields, but they are very small, which is a good thing because it's gonna be easy to still take damage while running Burgeon teams with Toma. And finally, Dia. Look, I know it seems like we're all just trying to desperately cling on to some hope that Dia can be meta, but I am genuinely optimistic right now. Dia, believe it or not, is the second best Burgeon driver in the game after Toma. She ticks pyro off field, which is great. She just ticks a little bit slower than Toma. But Dia does more than that. Dia makes your team bulkier, gives them stagger resistance, all while not putting up a shield. Meaning when your active character gets hit, their HP will change, but that damage will be mitigated from Dia, as well as Dia will take damage because of her damage redirection mechanic. And Dia's HP lowers over time in multiple very small ticks, which means things like Marechausee and stuff like that are going to be super easy to max out with a character like Dia. Not to mention she heals when she gets low, so another HP changing mechanic. So honestly, I feel like a Dia renaissance is coming. We'll just have to see. Now to round out the characters that might see more play are the very obvious DPS characters that we already have in the game that change their HP levels, Xiao and Hu Tao. Now Xiao is already set for the Fontaine meta with his slow ticking HP drain effect. He's good to go. But Hu Tao might have a little bit more trouble. Assuming you never get hit by the enemies, you don't want to get hit by the enemies. She can only change her HP levels twice by using her skill and using her burst. This is the main reason why Marechausee Hunter is not seen as a top tier set on her just yet. But if a character were to tick Hu Tao's HP down for her, or if we got creative and used Hu Tao on a Burgeon team, she would perfectly fit with these Fontaine characters and she'd be able to max out 4-piece Marechausee. Now keep in mind, all the Dendro and Dia strategies that I just mentioned are going to actively not want to shield on their team so that they can do self-damage. But the Fontaine characters we currently have, and Hu Tao and Xiao, they are able to lower their HP, shield or not. So perhaps if these new effects are strong enough, we might actually be trying to run teams without shields actively, which is weird. That might be an ideology that some of us aren't used to. But for me, you know, I'm down to run some new teams and some new strategies. I think it sounds fun. All right, we waited long enough. Let's talk about just why Marechausee is so strong. Genshin seems to always drop a very meta-influential artifact set with the release of these new regions. We had Emblem of Severed Fate come out with Inazuma, Deepwood come out with Sumeru, and now Marechausee is stepping up for Fontaine. So it is a very simple set. The 2-piece boosts normal attack and charge attack damage, which is great, while the 4-piece gives a 12% crit rate boost every time your character's HP level increases or decreases. This stacks up to 3 times, up to 36% crit rate. So using all those strategies and characters we just talked about earlier, it's very easy to get the max stacks out of this set. The Fontaine meta practically revolves around this mechanic, raising and lowering your HP levels, so I'm sure future characters, future weapons are going to continue to synergize with this set. So with that laid out, there are 2 big things that Marechausee brings to the table. The first is power. Now, just how strong is 36% crit rate on your character? The answer is it is really strong. It is like ridiculously strong, okay? It's like holding a second crit weapon or like holding 2 level 20 5-star circlets at the same time. While this set's 3 stacks are active, it pretty much blows all other artifact sets out of the water for characters that use normal or charge attacks. Which brings me to my second point though. If we were able to easily stack Marechausee on any character in the game, it's still not a set that everyone wants to use. Let's take a Nilou Bloom team, for example. Every single character on this team doesn't care about normal or charge attacks or the crit rate. Or let's take a Burgeon team, for example. Toma, Nahida, Xingqiu, and Bennett. Okay, the latter three do enjoy the crit rate for sure, but none of them care about the normal or charge attack bonus, and it's not good enough for them to want to replace Emblem of Severed Fate, Deepwood, Noblesse, or Crimson Witch, something like that. This is all to say we'll probably be getting a set in the future, like Marechausee, that gives completely different effects for increasing or lowering our HP. I'm just completely making this up, but let's say we got a brand new artifact set. The 2-piece gives energy recharge, and the 4-piece gives 75 elemental mastery every time a character's HP increases or decreases, stacks up to 3 times. I know that was bar for bar rip off of Marechausee, but hey, it's not my job to get creative with the sets. That's Hoyoverse's job. Anyway, I'm expecting similar sets to Marechausee to come out in the future, boosting up different stats, and when that set does come out, I can promise you it will be very strong. Now, there's 2 more forgotten artifact sets in Genshin that work off of characters' HP levels: Vermilion Hereafter and Vorukasha's Glow. Let's start with Vorukasha's Glow and why it might already be doomed from the start. So the extremely unfortunate thing about this set is that the text reads when the equipping character takes damage. So getting hit with a Burgeon Explosion or Burning Aura activates it, so that's cool, but characters like Neuvillette and Linny couldn't benefit from the set even if they tried. Like I mentioned, with shields not stopping Neuvillette and Linny's HP drains, these skills cost their HP to activate, meaning they don't actually do damage to themselves, so they cannot activate this passive. So with how Fontaine is designing all of the new characters, with their moves and abilities costing HP, not dealing damage, they will just not work with Vorukasha. It's sad that Vorukasha is doomed from the start. I'm sorry I had to be the bearer of bad news. Vermilion isn't completely dead in the water though. It reads that you'll get the attack percent raising stacks when your character's HP decreases. This will most definitely work with the Fontaine character design choice, but Linny prefers Marechausee over this one a lot, and Neuvillette scales with HP, so both of them aren't going to use this set. But that's just our current Fontaine characters. Maybe some of our new Fontaine characters, maybe even Wriothesley, might like Vermilion. Also keep in mind, Vermilion's passive only activates when the character's HP decreases, so healing won't affect the bonus like Marechausee, which likes healing or losing HP. Vermilion might not end up seeing relevance, but thought I'd bring it up nonetheless. So that is going to do it for my Fontaine meta analysis. Why did I even make this video? Well, I wanted to give you guys a better idea of what to expect from Fontaine and future characters, what team comps and characters might be really strong in the Fontaine meta in the future. And hey, because I like talking about Genshin with you all, and I want you guys to put your Primo Gems somewhere you won't regret. The road to 50K subs here on YouTube is still going strong, so please check if you are subscribed to the channel. I'm dropping entertaining and educational Genshin videos I like all the time. You will not regret subbing to the channel. Shout outs to the patrons who support your boy making content full time: Zik, 120, Poison Tongue Boy, Caldo, Gophers. I appreciate you guys all very much. Everybody else on Patreon, shout outs to you. But homies, I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.